I like bikes a lot. I like riding them, I like building them, I like watching YouTube videos and talking about them at great lengths. I even like, well, the best experience in cycling culture can be debated over mid-ride espresso drinks, but I feel the best is new bike day. Even when it's not my new bike. I've had plenty of new bike days and I'll have plenty more. So I was excited when Kate brought home her new bike, a 2021 Specialized Diverge Sport. This bike will appear a lot on this channel, or another version of it. That may sound confusing or even ominous. More on that later in this video, but right now, let's cover what this bike is all about and why so many people are excited to ride it. I'm going to talk a bit about Specialized mountain bikes. Stick with me. It'll all come together and make sense by the end of this video. I've ridden a lot of bikes in my life, but my love for cycling exploded when I was in college. My big brother gave me an old Specialized stump jumper. It had cantilever brakes and a seat post that was stuck in a position that was too high for me. I didn't care because I rode that bike everywhere. Sadly, it was stolen from me, but I turned the love of that bike into a brand new Stumpy with rim brakes and a fancy RockShox fork. I rode that Stumpy all over the mountains of northern Arizona and even raced a few single track events on it. Over the years, I've owned several more Specialized cross-country trail and enduro bikes. The last 5 years, I've crossed mountain passes and commuted on a Specialized A-wall. My experience with Specialized mountain bikes has been a bit better than the adventure lineup they've had. That doesn't mean I haven't enjoyed the A-wall. There are just better bikes out there to put in your quiver. From my experience, Specialized is better at creating bikes for single track than the gravel racer. Admittedly, I was wary of the Diverge at first, but there had been some buzz around it lately, and after learning more about the Diverge geometry and new suspension features, I knew it would be a good bike for Kate. This bike is spec'd with Shimano's gravel-specific 2x11 GRX 600 group set. With GRX, Shimano did what touring and gravel cyclists have had to do over a better part of the last decade. Combine mountain and road bike components to get the shifting and range needed for those environments. The RX 600 4630 crankset and 1134 105 cassette does just that. The RX 810 11-speed rear derailleur has this nifty chain stabilizer with a switch so you can match the terrain. Being able to tighten the chain on rough terrain like single track or gravel, where the chain can bounce around a bit, is a nice feature. Or you can reduce that tension when you're riding on pavement for crisper shifting. Riding gravel not only has extra demands on cockpit comfort, but also hand positioning, especially on the longer rides Kate and I like to do. If you haven't seen it yet, we have a series on this channel dedicated to our longer rides, including how to prepare for a century. Check out the link in the description after watching this video. Shimano's GRX drifters are optimized for rough terrain and long rides. There is extra grip in the hoods, and the curved lever design is a great fit for flared handlebars. What this group set provides is a range of possibilities for many different riding styles and environments. That's exactly what you want out of your gravel and adventure bike components, and Specialized chose wisely for this Diverge. Kate's Diverge Sport is equipped with DT Swiss G540 rims and Specialized Pathfinder Sport tires. Kate wants to pedal hard on the road and have enough stability on gravel, so the Pathfinder tires are good, but not great for her riding style. After a flat from sidewall damage, we fitted this bike tubeless with a set of Panaracer Gravel Kings. After a century ride on these, Kate knew she made the right call, switching to these tires. She went with 38mm tires, but the 2021 Diverge has clearance for tires as wide as 47mm with 700cc wheels. This bike has the Future Shock. I'll have another video dedicated just to the Future Shock, so I'll just scratch the surface here. This version is the 1.5. It doesn't have the on-the-fly adjustment capabilities that the 2.0 has, but it does have 20mm of travel and the option to change tension by swapping out one of 3 springs. Blue is the least amount of tension and yellow has the most. That makes the black spring here an intermediate between the blue and yellow springs. The idea behind the Future Shock is that it creates smoothness on your ride without sacrificing weight or speed. This just might be perfect for a road bike and possibly even better for a gravel or adventure bike. It's too early to tell if the Future Shock is a fancy gimmick or if it actually helps cut the harshness of the road, allowing you to ride faster and farther. A few things are for sure. First, 20 millimeters of travel is not enough to cut the sting of a huge pothole or bound over a series of routes on single track. And second, Kate rode her first century on her Diverge and felt the Future Shock helped. More testing is definitely needed. I've been a steel is real type of rider most of my life, but I'm intrigued by the Diverge Sport's FACT 8R carbon frame. It's super light for a gravel bike and wonderfully stiff, and that creates an extraordinary ride quality. It's a great frame design, and I'm excited for Kate to experience this on our adventures. What I like best about the 2021 Diverge Sport is its geometry. It's borrowed from the mountain bike world, something that Specialized is really good at designing. See, I told you I'd tie it all together. It's called progressive geometry. Compared to road bikes in the previous versions of the Diverge, this reach is longer, making a shorter stem necessary. The head tube angle is further from 90 degrees, the bottom bracket height is lower, and the chain stays are longer. All of these changes create a more stable ride. This is important while descending steep and gnarly gravel roads. But to retain that snappiness of a road bike, Specialized kept the trail fairly tight. Without getting caught into the weeds on bike geometry too much, trail is the distance between your steering axis and your tire contact patch. Oh hey, I'm in the middle of editing this video and I thought I'd pause for a moment because I felt my definition of trail, while accurate, is a bit confusing, mainly because there's so many different ways to describe bike geometry. Don't get caught too much in the weeds here if you don't fully understand what I'm talking about. I'll actually have a video soon strictly focusing on bike geometry. But I want to pause for a moment just because I want a different definition of trail that might be a little bit less confusing. More clearly, trail is the difference between the head tube angle and the fork rake. Even more simply, it's the contact patch of the tire behind the steering axis. Even more simply, what you'd want to get out of this is more contact patch, more trail equals less responsive steering, more stability. Less contact patch equals more responsiveness. Mainly what you find on road bikes and on this Diverge. Alright, back to the video. Every touring and gravel bike I've ridden has trail millimeters in the high 60s or low 70s. My size 54 Wolverine has 73 millimeters of trail. It's enough for a lot of stability, but still keeps a little bit of that snappiness. Kate's Diverge has 61 millimeters of trail, and that really creates a very responsive gravel bike. This bike is the perfect geometric marriage between a road and mountain bike. Another cool thing about the 2021 frame is the changes that allows for wider tires. The chains stay up by the front of the drivetrain is super skinny. This is a solid piece of carbon fiber. This allows these wider tires to be positioned near the bottom bracket, which really creates a lot of responsiveness in the rear end. One cool feature on the higher end Diverges is the SWAT storage system. This Diverge Sport does not have the SWAT storage system. It's a cool feature that may appear on another bike in this channel in the future. Yep. That's a big hint on Kate's future bike decisions. One important component of any long distance or adventure bike is having plenty of mounts. The 2021 Diverge is not short on any of these. There are 2 on the main frame, 1 underneath, 1 on the top tube, and 2 on the fork for a total of 6. And there are bosses on the rear for fenders or a rack like Kate is attached here. In all, a lot of mounting options. Kate's had some issues with fit on the size 54 frame, so stay tuned. There may be another new bike day for Kate on this channel.